Welcome to the Knowledge Center podcast. Join us today as teacher Michelle Bickhaus expands on and gives new insight to her Teaching Troubled Hearts blog in our first podcast and webinar series for educators. May's focus is sympathy and empathy, where we will be exploring the definitions of sympathy and empathy, the impact empathy can have on our students, and how empathy looks in the classroom environment. In this interview, Michelle talks to Troy Bruner, one of our teachers at Chaddock Special Education School, and gets his thoughts on sympathy and empathy and how they are viewed through our Developmental Trauma and Attachment Program, or DTAP, lens.
Hi, and welcome to my classroom. I am Michelle Bickhaus, and I am here with a colleague, Troy Bruner, who is joining me to talk about empathy and how that applies to our classrooms. So Troy, before we get started, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And why don't you go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
I would love to. My name is Troy Bruner. I've been a part of the Chaddock team for about 2 years now. Graduated from Graceland University in 2012 with a bachelor's degree in special education. Came here in January of 2016, initially as a middle school teacher. And I now currently teach high school English, health, and some electives. Age ranges we see anywhere from a freshman to a senior. Variety of ethnicities, and what makes our students so unique is that they have all faced some form of trauma in their lives. And I'm just very fortunate enough to get to interact and work with them on a daily basis.
Right, well, and we're fortunate to have you, and the students are really fortunate to have you as well. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So, in talking about sympathy and empathy, what do those terms mean to you?
When I think about both of those terms, we're striving for empathy. Of course, we're striving for empathy. When I think sympathy, I think more of feelings of pity and sorrow for someone else's misfortune, a lack of attention and investment in that individual. And I believe Brene Brown said it best: sympathy drives disconnection. Is what and that's something we don't want here at our school. We want a genuine connection.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's when I think sympathy, that's what I hear. On the flip side, empathy, it's more of the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, genuinely try to understand it, and that's going to fuel connection rather than that disconnection.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Great. So you can imagine that in striving for that connection through empathy, there are going to be some challenges. So what are some of the challenges that you run into as an educator when you're teaching others, such as parents and even staff, about empathy and even students?
That's a great question, Michelle. My biggest challenge that I currently face, as I said, I'm a high school teacher, but I'm located on the middle school floor. And we strive here at Chaddock to be empathetic to each student that we come across. And being on that middle school floor, there are elementary and middle school age students that I see in passing. And I know they're going through struggles. But because I don't have them in my classroom on an everyday basis, me trying to relate to their matters may often come off as sympathetic. So that is the biggest challenge for me. How can I build a genuine connection with those individuals who don't come in my doors every single day? How can I take time to get to know each and every one of those students?
Right. That's a real challenge, a logistical challenge, because you don't have them as students, yet you encounter them in the hallways, or
Yes.
you might even be called upon in the hallway to help intervene with the situation.
Exactly.
Right? That's good.
Exactly.
I'm not sure that I have any answers for you, but that is something really worth exploring.
Yeah. And is there a perfect answer? No, but what I strive to do is in those down moments that we have during playing time, in between lunch, is to reach out to those individuals, whether it be, just through common interest or recreational activities, just to strive to get an empathetic relationship with them, to know that they can come to me during those times of difficulty.
Right. That's great. Thank you. So we've established that we really focus on empathy, especially in this setting.
Yes.
And really, it's sort of maybe a worldwide goal to have. You know, we want this in every setting, in all cultures. And but we are focusing on the culture here at school. So just considering the school setting, how can empathy help with the students with whom you work?
I think empathy is at the core of what we do. We're relationship based. That's one of our core values at Chaddock. Empathy is perspective taking. It's staying out of judgment, and it's recognizing emotion and communicating that. And what that communicates, that communicates genuine feelings. And you or I may not have personally experienced that individual's trauma, but we can be there. And we can be there to listen and just simply be present in the moment. And that in itself demonstrates empathy.
Right, absolutely. I think going back to your bit about connecting, how when you're really empathetic, and I think the reason it helps you to connect is because then the students know that you're being genuine, that you're being authentic, and when they know that you're authentic because of the way you're connecting, because of your empathy, then they can trust you.
That's exactly right.
And you can form those relationships that are so necessary, particularly with youth who have experienced so much trauma.
And they've come from so many severed relationships in their past that were very surface level or just shattered. And by us doing that, they can sense an empathy. They can sense true, like as you mentioned, true empathy in a true relationship.
Right. So we've established that empathy is important, why it's important. Troy, what kinds of things do you do in your classroom to develop empathy? I mean, it can't be easy.
It's not. It's not a snap your fingers and we've established that relationship. Each one of our staff here at Chaddock has a specific personality attributes that help them relate to other individuals better than others. You know, you're going to have a greater connection with possibly some of our female students because of your backgrounds and interests more so than I am. So I personally try to get to know each individual that walks in my doors, whether that be through just all about me surveys, just simply asking, how are you doing right now? Genuinely, how are you doing? Checking in with how their weekend was. Did they have any visits? How are things at the cottage? Because without that, if we're not sensitive and aware of their emotional temperature, they're not going to be able to focus on anything academic. We've got to put those relationships at the forefront because that's going to drive our instruction. And for me as an instructor, that's essential. If I can't make that connection, if the students had a traumatic incident in recent, my subject matter, my lesson is going to be the furthest thing from their mind.
Right, exactly. And I think it's really good to be aware of what you said, that certain personalities are going to be able to tap into others more easily. You're going to have credibility with those kids who are really into sports, and that's like a foreign language to me in terms of teams and what the scores are and things like that. And I know you're talking about brackets or something, I think, aren't you?
Yeah, with March Madness coming up. Yeah,
so. I don't know what that is. Brackets, I don't know. So, if I have students who are really into that sort of thing, I'm going to want to really kind of give them the opportunity to connect with you, because as much as I might care, I don't get it. I don't speak that lingo. And whereas maybe if you have female students who are into, I don't know, what it might be, gardening or they love little children or music or art or something like that, you could probably speak to a lot of those things, but there might be some things that they might connect with me more easily because of their histories and then also because of their innate interests.
Definitely, and I think that's something great that we have here on the school is that collaborative mentality.
Yeah.
That I may be able to just reach out to you. I would be, and I know you would be happy to help me out. Whatever question I had in regards to decor, as you know, as your classroom is so illustratively decorated.
Thank you.
It's and I think that's something that's important. We also have those relationships, empathetic relationships with each of the staff.
Right.
Because it just makes it makes our working environment, and it just provides a more positive environment for our students.
Absolutely. We do really have something that's kind of magical. I mean, but I think it's not really magic. It's involved hard work, and it's letting the ego go. It's like, I can't be offended if the kid connects with you. I'm thankful that the kid connects with you because it didn't work with me.
Right.
So letting go, again, being authentic and non-judgmental and letting that ego go because it's about helping the students. Yeah.
It is. That's our common mission here.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Troy. Okay, so what's your best piece of advice that you could give to educators, whether they're brand new in this trauma-sensitive kind of focus, or perhaps they are entrenched in it already? What is the best piece of advice you can give to educators who are working to teach empathy to students as well as to caregivers?
I think the most important piece of advice I could give is I mentioned earlier, I've taught in both public, now I'm here in a private residential setting, is to simply take time to get to know your students.
Mm-hmm.
Because throughout the course of the school year, it's so easy, Michelle, to get wrapped up on focusing on the academic portion of our jobs.
Right.
You know, perfecting our lesson plans, printing grade reports, you know, preparing for the state assessments, that we minimize the social emotional piece of our jobs. And every one of our students have individual experiences, personalities, and we must take time daily to tap into that, to get to know that. And Chaddock allows us to do that, and I think other schools, you know, both public and private, need to recognize the importance of doing that.
Right. I agree. That's very well said. And I think one of the things I hear a lot is, you know, it's not that, I think in a general education setting, I think teachers are afraid that the building the relationships, all of these kinds of activities that lead to demonstrating empathy and forging those relationships, I think teachers are really afraid to let go of any time in their instruction in order to do these activities that build empathy. But I think you and I have seen it doesn't really involve having to sit down and talk for 30 minutes with the student.
No. It could be, that's a very good point, because understand we have class sizes of less than 10 students. We're in a public school setting, you're making a class with close to 30. And a teacher may see that as overwhelming. How am I ever going to find time in the day, like you said, to put 30 minutes or so into that? And that's just it could be a matter of a quick check-in with each student as they walk through the door, recognizing that, you know what, today's their birthday, and you acknowledge that.
Right.
You know, something as small as that makes a huge difference. And it's the little things like that are going to become the foundation of empathetic relationships.
Right, I think so. And I think also what it does is it keeps the door open. So alerting, you know, the birthday alert on the board or a note. So maybe you haven't had a big relationship building encounter with this kiddo, but the kid knows you care.
Right.
So that door is open so that when they do have some sort of crisis, they feel like they can trust you and come to you and work on that relationship. They know that door is open.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because we both know that trust is the foundation of any true relationship.
Right. Excellent. Well, Troy, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
your sharing your
Michelle.
wisdom and your expertise.
It was great.
So glad you were here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we, of course, hope this was helpful to you. And you can also always reach out to us with any kinds of questions you might have.